Disclaimer, this is a fictional story. The names I use in this story are made up. Please bear this in mind. Before I tell you everything, allow me to introduce myself. My name is John Bennings, and I'm currently diagnosed with an extremely severe case of pancreatic cancer, one that's going to kill me in the next few hours. How I got this cancer, this is something I normally don't wish to talk about. But I think the world, specifically those who play certain video games like Fortnite, Grand Theft Auto, or Call of Duty, or even online, needs to know. This is for your own safety, and I don't want you to end up in the same situation as me. So please, if you're listening to this story, consider my words and consider the utmost caution when you see him in a gaming lobby. It all started when I was just a random person who takes joy in killing other players. Of course, a lot of players hate us for it, but I enjoyed causing grief or ruining people's fun anyway. It's fun to listen to players bitching and whining on game chat, screaming about me using hacks or mods, or even just killing them without them doing anything about it. It was fun. Emphasis on was. Now I don't want to even touch my game controller anymore. I don't ever want to encounter him again. Because of him, my life went straight to hell, and I'm not going to last very long. But before anything happened, I was in a lobby, in a public session. As usual, I've been going around harassing players and killing them. I already finished playing on another game, doing my usual hobby. This got my KD up, and I enjoyed every bit of that moment. Some of the players I griefed were children, young as 5 years old, crying on the mic. Others were angry teens or adults, who did not take kindly to my actions. I kept killing them since I was normally on God mode all the time, even in GTA, and I didn't give a fuck. Hell, I even got reported or voted to get kicked from the session, but they don't seem to work. The developers don't give a flying fuck anyway. Of course, I did come across those who booted me off the game, but I didn't mind it. This was only temporary, until I can come back on and enjoy pissing people off on the game for the fun of it. This was fun, very fun. But then, it wasn't. There was one partialer player, whom I spotted simply driving a random car I assumed he just bought, for fun. He was a lower level, in the 50s, and he had a tiny KD. This was when things turned grim. I was going to do the usual thing, when I felt something inside of me tell me not to do it. There was something scary about that guy I was about to harass. It was a dreadful feeling, but I foolishly passed it off as a mere anxiety I randomly got. I didn't hesitate to come after the poor low level while in God mode. I was harassing him, and he didn't know how to go passive mode at first. After 7 kills off of him, he ghosted me. Before I put a bounty on him, he messaged me. Please stop. I didn't give a fuck. I just put a bounty on him, and got him out of ghost mode. That's when I killed him 10 more times, before he finally learned to go passive. Soon after he got on passive, I walked up to his character, and gave him an emote to humiliate him. I even messaged him, saying 17-0 cry XD. Of course, I was a total prick, and I didn't give a fuck. But I should have regretted it, when he told me this. Then get ready for black magic. Instead of taking it seriously, I did nothing but message him with XD many times, thinking he was a sore loser, and that he had gone insane. Black magic doesn't exist, or at least, that was what I initially thought. I told him next. What's gonna happen? Are you gonna make me cry? His response. In 3 days, you will find out. It will last for 5 days. On the 5th day, you're next. I laughed with XD again before he left the lobby, thinking he did go nuts. Now, I don't want to see him again, not even in hell. His name. Dark_Sentience 666. That name will forever be buried inside my mind. I had no idea I could come across someone who I thought was a crazy motherfucker, but turned out to be absolutely fucking dangerous. The first 2 days didn't seem like anything. It was the usual thing, where I piss off and kill more innocent or free mode players in games and public lobbies. Then came the 3rd day. I woke up at about 10 a.m., and nothing happened to me. That's when I thought he was literally crazy, because nothing happened so far. But that was when it finally happened. 6 hours later, I was on another public session on a video game, when I received a call. It was from the hospital. It was interesting, but I also felt anxiety. That same anxiety from the past 3 days, but I once again shrugged it off. I inquired as to why they called me, and that's when I was in complete shock. My mother. She got in a horrible car accident. I was about to head off of the game, to go see her, when another thought hit me. That name again. Did he have something to do with it? I asked myself, but I passed it off as a coincidence. That guy was just trying to scare me, right? Well, I wished it was a coincidence. I went to see my mother. I was told by her that she was fine. If only that was true when the fourth day of the initial black magic curse came. The fourth day, which is the second day of the initial black magic curse. Nothing happened so far, but I'm not going to simply shrug it off as a mere coincidence now. I was driving to the supermarket, looking around cautiously. Some of the drivers looked at me, like I was going nuts or something, but I could not help myself. What if something happened to me? I finally reached the store, until I heard a huge explosion happen behind me. I was 20 feet away from the explosion. Luckily, I didn't get injured, and I walked to the scene to see if anyone got hurt. The drivers of both cars collided with each other. One of those vehicles was a truck with a gas tank behind it, and the other car swerved out of control and struck it at full speed, causing it to explode, killing both drivers in the process. The paramedics and firefighters arrived to help with the scene. They got both bodies out. They could not identify the truck driver, since his papers and stuff were burned in the explosion. But they were lucky to get an ID off of the one who swerved into the truck's gas tank. Believe me, I wish I didn't hear the name. Anthony Marks. That name horrified me. That's when I went to take a good look at his charred face. Even though it was burned up, I was still able to recognize him. Anthony, my childhood friend, and we have been friends for a very long time, and still to this day. I couldn't bear to witness the fact that I had lost my best friend in this fatal accident. Then, that name hit me again. I admit, I was getting scared as fuck. That thought kept hitting me after these horrible incidents happened. It cannot be. This black magic couldn't be real. He had to be crazy. The fifth day, the third day of the initial supposed black magic curse. I anticipated what will happen next. Nothing has happened yet, but now I'm not taking any chances. I'm too scared to drive out of my own house, in fear that I would be next to die in a fatal accident. So instead, I stayed home now, not coming out. My boss called and wondered why I wasn't coming to work, since I was scheduled to be working today. I was afraid that I would get into an accident. I told him. I had no idea, he was not in any mood to receive that excuse. He let me go after that. I lost my job now. Shortly after hearing that shit, I received yet another call. This time, it was from the police. Oh no. Have I been framed? Am I going to jail? I asked. Believe me, I would rather have received that accusation, instead of what they actually told me. Another incident occurred. My brother, Joseph Bennings, was shot and killed in a home robbery by 3 criminals. My younger brother, of all people? Now he's gone? Then came the 6th day, the 4th day of said curse. Once again, nothing happened. But once again, I never left the house. I was cautiously getting ready to cook some food, when I noticed smoke from the back of the oven. That's when I heard a crackling sound, and I could smell fire. I quickly pulled the oven away to see the source of the burning, and I was horrified. An electrical outlet caught on fire. The fire began to spread around my kitchen walls. I tried everything I could to put it out. I did, but the situation was bittersweet. Shortly after I put out the burning fire, half of my kitchen was burnt and in disrepair, along with my electrical power suddenly cutting off. I never felt so devastated in my life, to know that I'm dealing with this situation once again. At least no one died, or that's what I hoped. I got another call from the hospital, and the situation made me break down and cry. My mother is dead. The impact from the accident caused severe, fatal damage to her internal organs according to the doctors. Tried as they did, they couldn't stop her from bleeding internally as the situation had gotten worse. That's when she finally succumbed to her situation, and drew her last breath. I was crying. I went to the hospital, to see her, lying peacefully in bed. I'm happy to see she's in a better place now, but I wish none of this happened. I began to think, this was all because of me. My mother, my brother, and my best friend. These 3 people I held dear in my heart, are now gone, and I suspected it was because of me. What I did on that day, to the lower level. Was this my punishment? Then it finally came, the 7th day, being the 5th and final day of the initial curse. As usual at first, it was nothing. 2 hours later, I felt a sharp, painful, stinging sensation in my pancreas. I started feeling very numb, and very faint. I quickly called 911, right before I passed out. I woke up 3 hours later, in a bed at the hospital. They were surprised to see that I was awake and I looked all right. I thought I survived the ordeal, but that was when I received another horrifying news. I was diagnosed with a severe, life-threatening, pancreatic cancer. According to the doctors, it's at an advanced state, and it's going to kill me in the next few hours. So now, here I am, typing all of this to you. I'm sending this out to all of you who play certain video games. If you're the type of person who I used to be, bear this in mind. It's all fun and games, until it isn't. If you see someone with the name, dark_sentience666, in the lobby, this is to all my former fellow modders and griefers. Please, for the love of God and all things good and holy, leave him alone.